The tent look very cool, but at the same time, you have to be fanning. That's Portmore. That is one aspect of Portmore. Let me, of course, thank the Prime Minister, the Minister, and also Mr. Audley Gordon for choosing Portmore to launch this beautiful initiative. The residents of Portmore welcome this initiative. We have suffered for a long time. We have served notices and derelict vehicles, garages within the municipal corporation, but we did not have the tools to carry out the removal of these derelict vehicles. Now, the agency is now equipped with the tools to carry out these initiatives, and you choose the right municipality to begin. Portmore, as all Jamaicans is aware, that mosquito problem faced us in Portmore. And it is extremely terrible in Portmore. We have several different types of mosquitoes in Portmore, and we have suffered very badly from the attacks of these mosquitoes within the municipality. So today, with the work that has really begun, removing the derelict vehicles, disturbing the breeding sites, you can feel the mosquitoes biting you at this time under the tent. But having discussion earlier with, of course, Mr. Audley Gordon about disturbing the site, we have already have discussion with the Ministry of Health for them, of course, to carry out vector control in Waterford this evening, because this is where the operation begins. But, Mr. Prime Minister, I don't want you to believe that what I'm going to say is a troublemaking statement. It is a reality. Before COVID, we have a discussion with Minister Tufton about mosquito problem in Portmore. During the tenure of former Mayor George Lee and key times, we purchased 3 swing fogger machines with the expectation for training people within Portmore to carry out vector control within Portmore. We were told that it could not work that way. The former mayor handed over the 3 swing fogger machine to the St. Catherine Health Department for them to pay special attention to Portmore. That was not done. So the discussion between ourselves and Minister Tufton, that he's going to look how we can train people in Portmore and have a dedicated team for Portmore, because the size of the parish, with the number, the size, yes, the size, yes. The size of St. Catherine Parish, the size of St. Catherine Parish, comparing to the amount of people who is employed to carry out vector control within the parish, the number is small. So you want to have a dedicated amount of people assigned to Portmore to carry out vector control. We are waiting on that, and up to now, we can't have those people trained and placed in Portmore. We are asking you today, sir, based on what is happening in Portmore with mosquitoes. We are asking you to have some discussion with Minister Tufton in regarding to training the people for Portmore so that we can reduce the mosquito breeding site and carry out vector control, that the people of Portmore life can be better. So, with mentioning about the parish, I am mentioning that the parish, comparing to the amount of people who are employed to carry out vector control, that is it. And if, Mr. Prime Minister, that even if that we are going to consider a parish of Portmore, we want to make certain that we have the necessary amenities within Portmore. And that is what we are asking for. And we are not against naming Portmore as parish. We are against naming Portmore without the amenities. That is what we are against. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I don't want to bore you too long because I know you have a busy day. So, talk some more. Talk some more. Oh, if you did want me to talk some more, I'll talk some more. What needed? Because there are a lot more, Minister. All right, so tell Robert to set him out then. So, Mr. Prime Minister, on a serious note, we would like to have a dedicated team for the municipality. Because mosquito problem in Portmore is not an easy one. So if we have that, the municipality will also assist in any way we can. And my minister is here. And I know he won't say no when I ask him for a little fund to buy some ice swing fagger machine. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I am just asking you, please, sir, to have further discussion with the minister to see if we can get that done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Thomas, for that warm welcome. It is now my honor to invite the Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community Development, to give his remarks.
Thank you, Madam Masters of Ceremony, Most Honorable Prime Minister, colleague, members of Parliament, His Worship, the Mayor of the Parish of Portmore, councillors, other representatives, ladies and gentlemen, and especially the hard-working team of the National Solid Waste Management Authority. Give them a big round of applause. Reverend, thank you so much for a very inspiring devotion. We are here this morning in Portmore to officially launch the island-wide cleanup exercise that the Most Honorable Prime Minister announced a couple of days ago. And interestingly, Portmore represents one of those communities that fit the bill when we speak about bulky waste removal. Already, the team started as early as 7 a.m. this morning, Prime Minister. And they have done a tremendous amount of work since that time, and I want to commend the team, the hard-working team. Coming out of the passage of the hurricane, we have seen many areas that have been affected. And I want to commend the National Solid Waste Management Authority, Prime Minister, because the day after the hurricane, the teams were out right across, restoring roads, removing bulky waste. And as I said, when we presented the trucks earlier, that the trucks couldn't come at a better time, because we are seeing the benefits of these new units. And I want to use the opportunity to salute the team and to say to you that the government will continue to provide the resources that is needed. Because we're going to be taking this program island-wide. And Prime Minister, we're going into the plains of Clarendon with the next move. We're going to be expanding this right across the country, especially in the parishes that were severely affected. My job as the minister, therefore, is to say to Jamaicans that this is a program that we should all buy in, and to give support to this program. And again, I want to commend the team of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, led by its Executive Director, Mr. Audley Gordon, and the hard-working staff for this tremendous job of work that they have been doing. In Portmore, arrangements are being made as we speak for equipment from the agency to be stationed in Portmore, so that there is a quick response in Portmore whenever there is a challenge. So there are good things for the parish of Portmore. And I want to emphasize the parish of Portmore. Thank you, His Worship.
Thank you, Minister Mackenzie. We note that. It is with great pleasure at this time that I now welcome our keynote speaker, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, to address us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your efficient mastery of the ceremony so far. And let me thank our pastor for your prayers for us. You know, I'm certain that if prayers were answered by the eloquence with which they were made, yours would be first. Yes. Thank God it isn't. But if prayers were answered by virtue of the sincerity with which they were made, yours would still be at the head of the line. You may not believe it, but the mayor is my good friend. Yes, we get along very well. Sometimes. Of course, you have, the mayor has his agenda, and I have my agenda. But at the end of the day, the agendas coincide for the benefit of the people of Portmore. You know, sometimes he does some things I wonder, but I still say, he must be approaching the problem from a different direction. But we will end up at the same destination. So he's fighting Portmore becoming a parish, but in his head, he knows that Portmore is by parish. All that is needed now is for us to just do the legislative changes. It's a parish. Portmore is a parish in all but name. But I start with the mayor because the protocol list should have been I would have acknowledged the minister and the members of parliament, and then the mayor and his councillors and so forth. But since, I am going to adopt the term used by the Reverend, I am going to ride on the protocol already established. So I like that one. Do I have your permission to use that? coinage? Of course. So having the protocol established, I will just jump to acknowledging the mayor, the first citizen of the parish, and to point out that Portmore, when it was developed, much of it is reclaimed land from swampy areas. There is a natural ecosystem here where mosquitoes and other vectors would naturally exist. So we have altered the environment to create a habitat. That habitat must always have a certain level of maintenance to ensure the convenience of the citizens. Now, the convenience of the citizens being able to survive in a habitat that we have created, which is not naturally, it's a built environment, would also mean that we would have to have an economy to support it, because drains don't clean themselves. Where water ponds in areas that are left for public spaces, nobody's going to leave their home to come and clear those waterlogged areas. So it requires a standing government that maintains, and that requires an economy that can support the government that maintains, meaning the municipal authority that maintains. And for many years, the maintenance budget to do things like clearing earthen drains, remove bulky waste, which is a breeding site for certain kinds of mosquitoes. The truth is we just simply did not have the budget to do it. Now that becomes a political issue. The citizens will complain, the politicians not doing anything, and the politicians, will say the central government not doing anything, and it is a back and forth and a back and forth. But what it boils down to is, what is your economy doing to generate the revenues to support the level of maintenance that is required? And for the last 40 years, our economy has not generated the level of resources to do all that we want. So, in talking with your members of parliament here, they are telling me that Portmore has several earthen drains, meaning we have just cut waterways in the earth and we haven't paved them. Trees grow up in them. That in itself waterlogs the drains. That is compounded when persons throw plastic containers in those drains, because that holds water as well. It's compounded when you no longer need your refrigerator and you drag it from your home to the open lot in front of you, and it stays there, rain falls, water collects in it, the old tires. All of those things contribute to creating the environment in which the vectors, and we use this term vector, meaning the mechanism of transmission, mosquitoes, rodents, roaches, exist. Now, your members of parliament and the councillors are saying to us, central government, that we need to convert these earthen drains into concrete drains. Now, I want you to imagine that exercise and the cost of converting all the earthen drains in Portmore into concrete drains. I am not hereby saying that it should be done or it can't be done. I'm saying that as we contemplate what we need to do to improve this environment which we have built, which we have created, we must also have an appreciation of the cost of doing it and what needs to happen for it to be done, which is we need to keep our economy going, and we need our economy to be properly managed so that we can get the resources to do all of this. Now, what has the government done? With the small level of economic growth that the country is experiencing, the government has made certain allocations. It's very important that the country understands this. We have allocated resources to the NSWMA. And those resources will contribute to the standing maintenance of communities like Portmore. Recently, we have bought 50 more trucks. Remember, a couple years ago, a year or two ago, we bought 50 before. Now we have bought another 50. That's 100. That's the most any government has ever purchased. I have to say it like this because, you know, the conversation is not now going on. It's just rubbish about nothing not going on. A lot of things going on in Jamaica. Now, those trucks are what we are deploying here today. We have bought, never before, crane trucks, tipper trucks, so that we now have capacity not just to take up garbage and compact. Now we have capacity to lift cars, the old cars, lift the old refrigerators, lift the bulky waste, and remove them. So that capacity is there. In addition to that massive expenditure, which happened before burial, we didn't know burial was going to come. We have now allocated just over $500 million to the NSWMA to conduct this program. What is this program now? This is the National Cleanup Program post-burial. The very thing that the mayor is calling for support. As the mayor acknowledged in his presentation, he wouldn't be able to do this from his municipal budget. It's the central government that has to come and support the municipality with this capacity. And we are going to be in Portmore, the parish, with 100 workers from the NSWMA. And as you can see, the trucks lined around, and we're going to move around street to street, and we're going to take up all the bulky waste. I know that notices would have been served on persons who have the old cars and all of those things, and we will remove them. This is a national campaign to clean up all of Jamaica, but since I'm in Portmore and we are launching in Portmore, I want to talk about the Portmore problem. So as I'm sitting there, I had to utilize this fan, because were it not for it, the mosquitoes may have lifted me out of my seat. And I noticed that everybody is doing the same. And I can tell you, the tent offers some shade, but believe me, this is a very warm welcome. And the mosquitoes are trying their best to make me feel uncomfortable. Nevertheless, when we do this exercise, I guarantee you that the breeding sites for the mosquitoes will be removed largely, and your greater convenience of not having the mosquitoes terrorize you, your greater convenience will improve after this exercise. But it is not the NSWMA alone that the government has made an allocation to post-burial, which we consider this part of the recovery phase of burial. We have made an allocation to the NWA, the National Works Agency, just about $800 million, to go right across Jamaica and look at all the drains that are blocked, particularly the earthen drains that are blocked, and to clean those earthen drains to relieve areas that are waterlogged. And that exercise has already begun. We may have a launch of it maybe in another week or so, but between the NSWMA and the NWA, $1.3 billion has been allocated. And I'm speaking funds now, budget, to be able to go right across Jamaica and deal with these issues of areas being waterlogged and deal with the issues of the collection of bulky waste, which contributes to the breeding sites for vectors. Now, the mayor mentioned this issue of fogging. The government also made an allocation
to the Ministry of Health for fogging. And I was just on the phone with Dr. Tufton, I believe it was yesterday, talking about how do we expand and intensify fogging. Now, fogging is just one means by which the Ministry of Health executes its vector control. I am not the professional on this fogging business, so I'm going to be very careful and be limited in my presentation, except to say that if you overdo fogging, you can build up a resistance in the mosquito population. So there are requirements that they have to follow. So they can't fog if it's too windy. There's a certain period of time that they have to fog. So you may not see them in your community, but that may be because the conditions are not right for them to come and fog. But they have a schedule, and I have been assured that they intend to fog as many communities as they can. And Portmore is high on the agenda for fogging. In terms of giving Portmore its own capabilities for fogging, my view is that every parish should have their own capability for fogging. Every parish. And I'm certain that is how the Ministry of Health is going to deploy its resources in a regional way. So they may very well have parish-based capabilities. And I'm going to have a discussion with the Minister of Health that he should treat Portmore as a parish. And then that will answer the mayor's question. The mayor says he's not against Portmore being a parish. He just wants Portmore to have the capabilities of a parish. Because his argument is that the size of Portmore relative to the parish, Portmore deserves its own capabilities. By the way, that is the argument for a parish. So, I don't want us to make the decision of making Portmore into a parish a political one. It's a logical thing. By every measure, Portmore should be a parish. I don't think we should resist it. But as I said, there are certain things as a leader of the country, you want to make sure that everybody is satisfied as you move along to these changes. And that has been my style. Right? The same thing for constitutional reform, for the republic. These are matters that you need the entire nation to agree. And for the Portmore issue, I think there is a growing consolidation of agreement that Portmore should be a parish. It is easier to administer the municipal affairs of Portmore were it its own parish. And that's just the reality. But I wanted to point out something to all of you who are here. I see many of the workers who are here, and I want to thank you for your participation. You are very important to Jamaica. The collection of solid waste and the maintenance of public areas is a critical part of any society. And you play a very important role in that, and I want to acknowledge you, the workers. But for my Jamaican brothers and sisters, many of whom are upset by virtue of the haphazard way in which electricity is being returned to some communities across Jamaica. And every Friday I'm out and about in Jamaica, checking the pulse, seeing what is happening. And there is no doubt that the way in which this government has performed, people have a higher expectation of how services are handled. Let's face it. After Dean, after Ivan, you're looking at months, not, Hurricane Gilbert, that some areas wouldn't have gotten back electricity. But this is a different government that has set a higher bar, and persons expect that there will be a quick return. I must tell you, I am not satisfied. So I've given strict instructions to Minister Vaz. You would have heard Minister Vaz in Parliament yesterday. And I believe that we are making some progress, particularly as it relates to the estimated bills and so forth. Of course, progress. Yes, we make progress, and the more progress we make, prosperity. Yes. So, it is important. I tell you, he's my friend. Now, we understand the frustration that the population has. We understand. But you must not blind your eyes to the progress that is being made. You must not blind your eyes to the changes and improvements that have been made. And also, as citizens, you have to understand the world in which you live. Many Jamaicans exist from day to day. They have no concept, no clue about the global changes that are taking place around them. After all, why should they? They only have to deal with the problems that they face day to day. If I don't have electricity, if water is not in my area, if my road is not fixed, this is what matters to me. But you cannot just be a local citizen. You are a citizen of the entire world. And there are some issues that affect the entire world that impact your local circumstances. And that is why they say, think global, but act local. Some of us are just acting local and thinking local. That is not going to get you far. Every Jamaican citizen must now pay attention to this thing called climate change. Every Jamaican citizen must pay attention to this thing called climate change. And it is not that the seasons are changing. The seasons change all the time. You have winter, you have autumn, you have spring, and you have... So that's not what I'm talking about. Pay attention to the frequency of major weather events happening in your country. Pay attention to the hotter times that you are experiencing on a daily basis. You don't have to take my word for it. All of you have phones. Instead of going on the SUS channels, go on Google and look at the hottest times that are being experienced in the last 5 years. Look at the sea level rise that is occurring and areas that are at risk of being flooded out. Climate change. What this precipitates, and what every citizen must now understand, is that you are living in a world where you are going to have frequent crises happen to your country and your community. Frequent crises. You're going to have weather events, rains, which creates flooding, hurricanes, high winds cause damage to your housing, landslides, and all the other things that come from that. Blocked drains, flooded areas, waterlogged areas, increasing mosquitoes and other pests and vectors. But you're also going to have health issues, pandemics, or other health epidemics. And then you're going to have technology crises, which we experienced one recently. In other words, you're living in a period of time, though you are only concerned about Portmore. But you're living in a period of time where you're going to have multiple crises happening all at once as a result of climate change, as a result of health issues, as a result of technology issues. Multiple crises happening more frequently. Almost every year for the last 5 years, Jamaica has had a serious weather event. Whether it is Tropical Storm Eta, Tropical Storm Zeta, we had several heavy floods. Now we have a hurricane. So not only are you going to have multiple crises, you're going to have them more frequently. So you have multiple crises happening more frequently, but here's the other part of it now. These crises are overlapping. Think about it. We had a pandemic. The pandemic created a supply chain shortage, which created an inflation problem, which we are still living in. The pandemic is we declared the pandemic, we closed out our disaster response rate on the pandemic about 2 years ago, but we're still having the impact on our economy. And while we are dealing with that, bam, here comes a hurricane. Then you have wars happening in the world. Affect supply chains again. We don't have nothing to do with that. Increase your cost of living. Remember what I said to you. Yes, you are worried about your problem in Portmore, which is the mosquitoes bothering you. And Portmore has always had the problem, but it is far more intense now than before. Why? Because there is this global change happening in our climate. And how can we deal with this global problem? It's bigger than us. So we might think we can't do anything. No, we can. And that is what it means to understand the problem globally, think globally, but act locally. We're going to have to figure out, Portmore, how we treat with the disposal of our waste. You can't feel good in yourself that you drink the juice bottle and there's a rubbish pan right there, and you stay over there and you say, it doesn't drop in and it drop outside and you kiss your teeth and God. It doesn't drop in the receptacle. It drops on the ground and you just say, chop, and you go on about your business. When you drive along the roads coming in and you see all the plastic bottles strewn along the roadway, how did it get there? Somebody in the car, wind on the window, throw it out. Somebody walking, drinking the water, drop it there. We cannot continue like that as a people. There is no much budget that we can allocate that can solve that problem. When it gets into the earthen drains, that prevents the water from moving through. So it's not just the trees that block the drain. It is the plastics. We have to take some responsibility. All right, you no longer need the fridge. You no longer need the tire. NSWNA doesn't come to collect it because they never had the budget because they couldn't buy the truck. Well, don't just leave it there. Punch some holes in it so that if water collects, it runs out. If you have to store water in your house, cover what you store the water in for your drinking and domestic purposes. In other words, understand that as the time gets hotter, the conditions for breeding mosquitoes and other vectors improve for them. Those conditions are what they like. And so you're going to get more mosquitoes. So how you're going to deal with that is not just to go blame the government and blame NSWMA. You have to take some personal responsibility. So I'm using this platform to appeal to all of Jamaica to understand that there are some global changes happening that you need to get in tune with and change your behavior in order to have an impact on the conditions that these global changes create in your local community. So the long and short of this presentation, the government is doing its part as much as it can from the economy that you create. Whatever resources we get, we allocate it to the problems as best as possible. And we are allocating it in smart ways. We are doing the things that build our resilience, meaning build our capabilities to respond to crisis. No one knew that Hurricane Beryl was going to come. We knew a hurricane is going to come. But they didn't know that Beryl was going to come. But a smart government knows that we need the capabilities to properly remove bulky waste. And that is why we didn't only buy compactors, we bought 20 other pieces of equipment that would allow us to treat specifically with bulky waste. So we are standing here now because our good economic management of the economy gave us resources, and then good government planning in advance bought equipment that would put us in a position to be able to respond to an unknown crisis, but a crisis nevertheless that we know is going to occur. And I want you again to think of it, of the multiple crises that overlap. Immediately you have Beryl. What happened after Beryl? You had some whole heap of rain. Another tropical depression came. And then what's the other crisis now for most communities? Mosquitoes. Several crises happening all at once. Government has to respond to that. And I make the point, therefore, that, you know, sometimes I hear people talk and I really wonder if they know what they're talking about. If they really understand. That, you know, for every country, you need a smart set of people. Because if you leave it up to some people, no, it's not that. It's persons who don't take the time to inform themselves, who listen to nonsense, who believe fake news. And the important things for our survival is missed. And then they end up electing the wrong government. So the point that I'm making is, we need the smart Jamaicans to stand up now. We need the people who will be willing to pay attention to what is happening globally. Who don't read the nonsense on the internet, but go and find the facts. The things that enlighten and uplift them. That make them smarter. Those are the people that we need. Those are the people I appeal to. People who want to go listen to conspiracy and gossip, you go on your way. But those of you who have Jamaica's interest at heart, who will go and see what the true information is, understand what is happening globally, see that there is a government that understands that and act in your behalf, and then come back to your community and act locally in a smart way to improve the community. Those are the people that I am appealing to. And you can't say, true word. True word. True word. So, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to officially launch the National Cleanup Program, which was launched in time to put Jamaica in a state of readiness to properly celebrate our emancipation and independence. We can't go into those periods with our urban spaces and our communities looking in anything less than clean. And so I now implore the NSWMA to ensure that this program works well and that all of Jamaica is cleaned properly and that we deal with the vectors that create the problems with mosquitoes. And Mr. Mayor, as I leave here, I will have another word with Minister Tufton to ensure that the parish of Portmore has its own capabilities for fogging. God bless you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Holness, for your powerful and motivating keynote address. At this point, we have come to the end of our launch, and we now move to what we do every day at the NSWMA, which is to get our hands dirty and to remove these derelict vehicles and bulky waste. We will begin here in Caymanas Drive and then move to Adair Drive. Thank you all for coming. Have a good day.